Hello, hello, hello! Welcome back to my channel on YouTube. Hi, my name is Teresa. If you are new here, it's lovely, lovely, lovely to meet you. If you have watched my videos before, thank you for coming back. If you have watched my videos before, thank you for coming back and deciding that you want to listen to another video where I just waffle on about a load of nonsense, really. Thanks for bearing with me. I thought I'd do a little bit of a different video today, and I thought I would give you a insight into the podcasts that I listen to. I've been listening to podcasts for probably about 3 years now, maybe a bit before, maybe 4 years since I was pregnant with Holly. I just thought it would be 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. And I listened to them a lot when I was on maternity leave with her, when I was in the car driving about. There's just something about podcasts that I love, and I like popping a podcast on and doing my cleaning. And I just thought there's some really, really, really good podcasts out there that I would like to give recommendations for. So if you're looking for any good podcasts to listen to, these are the ones I would recommend. They are fantastic. And I've put them in little kind of, not pockets, segments, themes. Genres. I've clumped them together, basically. First one that I absolutely love, and I know a lot of people listen to this one, and if you like a good giggle, a good laugh about nonsense, about some rude stuff, Shagged, Married and Annoyed is your podcast to be going to. So it's Chris and Rosie Ramsey. They're a husband and wife team, and I think it's been going for about a year now. It's just won a podcast award. They do it in their kitchen, which I love. They set up their stuff in their kitchen, and I think it's on like number 76 podcast or something. So if you're in for a treat if you've never listened to this, because you've got a lot to go back and listen to. They do stuff like what's your beef with each other, so they air their issues with each other, what annoys them about each other every week, which is hilarious. They do questions from the public. They take on questions from the public, and it's all really rude, disgusting stuff, but it's funny, and it's just nice to just put it on for an hour, forget about the world, and listen to some people talk about some utter tripe, but brilliant tripe. Their relationship is brilliant. They're very honest about marriage. They're both parents. She is currently pregnant as well, which is quite nice, because it's something I can relate to at the moment as well. So if you haven't checked that one out, go and check it out. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, my second recommendation is a podcast called Like-Minded Friends, which is by Susie, Ruffle and Tom Allen, both comedians, both fantastic. I have a massive obsession with Tom Allen. I love, love, love him. I went to our local theatre, it must have been 2 years ago, because Holly was quite young, probably 2 years, maybe last month. And Tom Allen was doing one of his tours there, and we went to watch, and he was like wet your knickers funny. He's just my type of comedy. He was just brilliant. I came out with my face was aching because he was just so funny. I was laughing so much. So they do a podcast called Like-Minded Friends. They are both gay, and the theme of the podcast is, I suppose, about the gay community, and how they deal with situations in the gay community, but in a fun way. And they also have guests who are gay. It's really, 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 really great. They all the time go off-piste on their subject, on their topic. But what I found is during lockdown, they've been a tonic, because they've actually been really honest about what lockdown has felt for them as well. And I found that when I'm listening to their podcast, it makes me feel not so, I don't want to say stupid, because that's not the right word to use. But when I felt that lockdown has been overwhelming me, and I've put their podcast on, and I know that they're going through the same, it's just made me feel a little bit like, oh, okay, it's not just me. And I know it's not just me, it's lots of other people, but when you hear somebody saying it, it just helps, doesn't it? So that's a really fantastic podcast to listen to. I really, really, really recommend that. That's loads of episodes on that one. I'm actually I'm listening to it every week when it comes out on a Friday, but I'm currently going back. If I've got no other podcast to listen to that's been released, I'm currently going back and listening to that one from the start, whereas the Shagged, Married, Annoyed I've been listening to from the start anyway. So that's a really good one. So on the side from that, Susie Ruffle, also, who presents that one with Tom Allen, she also has another podcast called Out with Susie Ruffle, and it is brilliant. It's celebrities, minor, big celebrities, small celebrities, anybody in the who's known, I suppose. It's their coming out story, and it is fantastic. And I listened to the one with Tom Allen because I am obsessed, and it was just fantastic to listen to the struggles that they've had to go through and how tough it has been for them to come out in the gay community. It was really harrowing to listen to, actually. So if you're watching this and that's something that you are really struggling with, I would so recommend listening to her podcast. It's just brilliant, and I think you'd get a lot of strength from it. And I think you'd probably be able to sit and go, "That I get that. That's me." So give it a listen. That one is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so next one is a podcast by a nutritionist who's a really well-known nutritionist in London, has her own place in Harley Street, and it is Rhiannon Lambert. Now, I grew up in the same town as Rhiannon. We didn't really know each other too well. A couple of times when she went to London to do some vocal stuff, I remember messaging her saying, "Do you have a backing track for this? Because I can't find it anywhere." And bless her, she did, and she sent it to me. I got back in touch with Rhiannon when I was trying to fall pregnant with Holly, and I knew that I wanted to get my weight under control. So I got in touch with her and I had a Skype session with her. And since then, I've followed her on Instagram, and she has a phenomenal podcast, actually, called Food for Thought. And it's about giving you the right amount of information and advice with regards to nutrition and anything that relates to. Now, she's touched on stuff with mental health before. She did a really, really, really honest one lately, which was her birth story, because she's just had a little boy. And that was a fantastic podcast. This week's one was all about sugar. The one I have found that really spoke to me was, I think it was about something to do about diet and weight loss. I'm sure it was. There's so the topics that she presents her podcast on, they just never fail to be brilliant. And there was one actually that dealt with oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look back and see which one it was, because it was amazing. This is the one. So it was the biggest women's health myths. I cannot recommend to you enough to go and have a listen to it. I remember listening to it going, "Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely." She just has the most brilliant experts on there talking about the field that they absolutely know. There was a really good one on sleep that I listened to, so I'm just looking down at them all because they're just fantastic. How to overcome anxiety, stop binge eating for good, the shocking truth about sugar, which was last week, why fat won't make you fat. It's just I can't recommend it enough. It's such a good podcast. Food for Thought by Rhiannon Lambert. So check that one out. Okay, next one. Oh, the next one is amazing. So I would probably say that I am incredibly fortunate not to have been massively affected by cancer. My best friend was diagnosed with breast cancer, quite an aggressive form of breast cancer, about I want to say 5-6 years ago. She's coming up to her 5 years clear, please God. I think that's next year. And I probably started listening to this about 2-3 years ago. So it's presented by Deborah James, who, if anybody follows her on Instagram, she's known as Bowel Babe, and she has bowel cancer. Girl versus Cancer, Lauren Mahon, and she had breast cancer and is now about 3 years clear, I think. And Steve Bland, who is the husband of Rachel Bland, who I think about 2 years ago died of breast cancer. And he's then since taken on presenting with the other two to keep the podcast going and keep Rachel's name out there in the podcast. It is brilliant. It is so informative, and I started listening to it thinking that actually this is scaring me. And I probably started listening to it and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to be really mindful. Have I got cancer all the time? Just all those silly things that you think about. But they touch on so many topics that even if you're not massively affected by cancer, it's really important to understand and know things that they talk about, so you can either support people who are in the cancer community, or you can do your bit to help. And it's just fantastic. And recently there was a BBC Panorama episode that they worked with Deborah James, Bow Babe, who they talked about the effect that COVID has had on the cancer community. Now, I didn't watch the Panorama because I made a conscious decision not to watch it, because if visually I could see something that was so upsetting, I knew I'd be crushed, and I'm pregnant and very hormonal, and maybe that's really bad actually, maybe I should have watched it, but I just knew I wouldn't be able to cope with it. So I listened to You, Me and the Big C podcast about it. There's 2 episodes about the Panorama BBC episode, and it just blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. And I think everybody should be aware of what this pandemic has done to the cancer community and all those people who are struggling, who are not getting treatment, who are not being diagnosed, who are dying because they're not getting their treatment. It's real. And this podcast touches on it, but it does so much more than that. At the moment now, it's talking about game changers. It's talking about the charities that are working within the cancer community. It's done a really, really good episode where they went into one of the hospitals and looked at all the different treatments that you get through cancer. It's so, so interesting. And it's a bit of a groundbreaking podcast, I personally think. So go over and have a listen to that. So we've kind of gone from comedy to real life stuff. And now we're going to go into a little bit of nice fun. Anybody who is a musical theatre fan, who is like moi, Keep Calm and Carry On is a really good musical theatre podcast. Kerry Ellis, who we will probably all know as Elphaba from Wicked, a big West End star. She has started a podcast at the start of lockdown actually, called Keep Calm and Carry On, and it's brilliant. So she interviews lots of West End stars. She's interviewed Adam Garcia, Denise Van Outen's on there, just absolutely loads of stars, and talked about their career, their high points, their low points, how COVID's affected them actually, which has been really interesting because the arts have been hugely hit by this. So it's been interesting talking about how their projects have all gone on hold. Yeah, if you like musical theatre, it's a brilliant one to listen to, so give that one a go. She's just wrapped up series 1. Hopefully there's going to be a series 2, but I loved that one. I thought that was brilliant. Happy Mum, Happy Baby. Giovanna Fletcher. I love this podcast because I started listening to this when I was pregnant with Holly. It's real, it's honest, it's a massively honest account of what motherhood is like, the highs and the lows, absolutely everything. So she interviews celebrities basically about motherhood, about being a mum, about their birth story, about what it's been like being a mum, how that differs from how they thought they would be a mum when they were pregnant or growing up. One of the episodes that I remember she put out, and I remember listening to it thinking, oh my gosh, that was me, was she asked the question of, did you get that wonderful loving feeling when you first hold your baby, that all-encompassing feeling of love? And I didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't get that with Holly. I was there going, I've just given birth and this beautiful baby is on me and she's mine and it's so lovely, but I didn't get that whoosh of love. You know, that didn't come probably until a good day later for me. And she interviewed somebody and they said about that, and she kind of stopped and went, but that's okay. You know, that's okay. It's okay to feel that and it's okay to not feel that. And it's just, it's such a good podcast. And if you are a first time mum, I think it's probably one of the most honest accounts of motherhood and what you're going to be going through and potentially going through that I've kind of found out there actually. She's brilliant. She's got a lovely way of presenting and interviewing, and it's just it's a fantastic podcast. Okay, don't stop the video. It is in fact correct. You haven't switched over to a different video. I am just a bit of an idiot. You will notice I now have no makeup on my face. I'm in a different outfit. I'm in my bedroom with very different lighting because it's the evening. And the reason for that is I accidentally deleted the end of the podcast video, and I didn't realise until I was editing. So I'm just really quickly coming on here, excuse the state of me, to finish that video. It was so nearly at the end as well. Oh, really annoying. Okay, so 2 podcasts left that I want to recommend, and they are crime podcasts. So the first one is called Serial. I'm sure everybody will have heard about this already. It's a fantastic podcast. It's basically about a guy who, you're not really sure in it if he's been falsely accused or correctly accused of murder, and he's in prison. And what's so interesting about it is you're actually hearing from him a lot in prison, and they're basically looking into the case again, essentially. That's probably all I'm going to say about that one, because I don't want to ruin it. And then the last one is, I think it's called Unheard, the Fred and Rosemary West tapes. And it's a journalist who was working on the Fred and Rosemary West case, you know, in the 80s, when that horrible, gruesome stuff all happened that was just horrific. I'm sure we'll remember it, and it just was not nice. So yes, it's a journalist who has found his unheard tapes that he recorded, and he's going back and kind of just dissecting the case again, really, from his side of things. It's really interesting. It's really interesting one to listen to. So those are my 2 crime podcasts. And I really wanted to include them, which is why I wanted to do this stupid end segment to this video. I'm so sorry. That's the first time I've done that. It's probably the first, but I imagine it's probably not going to be the last. So I will wrap this video up. You will probably see this outfit in my next video with no makeup as well, because I'm going to do my next video now. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you like this mess, please like and subscribe. Share it around. I'd love to get more subscribers and more people watching my videos, and just get a really nice community of people watching and listening in and waffling. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you soon in one complete video without having to mash 2 together.